Hi there, it's Paulie here. So I thought I'd give you a psychological battering today. If I have to bear the pain, you have to. Burdens are best when shared, right? Right? So yes, let us talk about furry fandom. God help us. All right, so backstory. I kind of helped set furry fandom up. So way back in the early '80s, I did a role-playing game called Albedo. Now, Albedo was based upon some comic books, which were rather brilliant. They were hard science fiction, but they had animal characters. The artwork was beautiful. Beautiful tech, beautifully shaded. They're a real revelation. I've been designing a science fiction system, then found these comics, and like, wow. So, got in correspondence with the artist, who's a lovely guy, Steve Galacci. I did the game, and when I went over to Gen Con to push the game and so on, the artist Steve came along and had a good time, and then we went back to LA, and he introduced me to a lot of the other early kind of avant-garde black and white comic artists. Now, he really liked animal characters, and I always have too. I've always been a huge fan of Disney's Robin Hood and all these sorts of things. Loved it. So there was an amateur publishing association, which is a group of people who kind of produce stories and so on that they share amongst themselves, called Vuti, that had a lot of sort of early cray black and white artists in it, Vaughn Baudet and all these sorts of people who doing that kind of way cool stuff. Later on, the funny animal fans kind of split away from that and made their own more specialized one for essentially just funny animals, because the rest of the Voodoo people kept complaining about why are there all these animal stories. We don't want to see that messing up our magazines. Okay, the funny animal guys took things elsewhere, and that new ARPA was called Rowbrazzle. And at this kind of stage, a nascent funny animal fandom, we called it, nothing to do with furries, that came later. Funny animal fandom coalesced. Now, you would go to San Diego Comic Con or Gen Con and so on, and there would be like a furry or funny animal party would be at these things, and that's where everyone would meet. Now, this was a really, really interesting group of people to be around, because at its core were the real movers and shakers of all kinds of creative industries. So it would be filled with Warners and Disney animators, Warners and Disney directors, games designers like me, authors, children's book authors, sculptors, the guys who made like the 3D maquettes that animators use as their models when they're sculpting, toy designers, role-playing game illustrators, all kinds of illustrators, tons and tons and tons and tons of comic book creators. And it was just an amazing place. You'd turn up and there'd be just so many ideas for stories and games and so on flying back and forth. You'd sit down, you'd talk with these people, and you just burst out of these cons so energized with all the ideas that you had. I really, really missed that. I haven't had that kind of peer experience in decades. And I guess I can figure out now why, because as this spread, more and more people became attached to it who weren't really kind of the creators of content. They were people who liked the content, which is fine. You got an audience, fantastic. But in amongst these were some pretty broken people. Now, every fandom has these. God help us, role-playing games is full of way more than its fair share of these fanboys. But kind of broken people who are kind of obsessive about their fandom and, often have questionable personal cleanliness habits, etc. You know the tropes. The tropes are there, unfortunately, because they're real. A tale. So, there was a particular fanboy who was renowned for not bathing. He would come over to these West Coast conventions from the East. I think he was living in New Jersey. And he would catch a Greyhound bus, and it would take about a week. And he would just live in one set of clothes for this whole trip and not bathe. So he's been kind of sitting on a bus and these clothes getting sticky. And then he would just walk out into the cons because he didn't want to miss it. And, so he'd come thundering out and just wouldn't spend any time, like, hosing his layer of bleh off him before he got into the cons. Like, Jesus Christ, mate. Fuck. He got all these piercings before he went on one. And so he got like, lip piercing, nose piercings, multiple ear piercings, nipple piercings, genital piercings. And then he gets on this bus. And by the time he got off it at the other side, these things had all infected. And so he got seriously sick, so running high fevers, and everything, had to be raced off to hospital. Another imbecile, a fan artist, this moron, he decided to drive to one of these conventions and he's driving from Arizona. He sees a Gila monster by the side of the road. Wow, I could sell a Gila monster. So he stops and he goes to pick it up, and of course the thing bites him, doesn't it? Ow! 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 I have been bitten by the Gila monster. He managed to prise himself free, and then he drops the Gila monster, which fucks off. So he gets back in the car and drives to San Diego from Arizona. And by the time he turns up, there's got an arm swollen up the size of a pillow, and I'm there, and this guy comes staggering in, sweat everywhere. Oh, this thing bit me, and my arm's huge. What bit you? Gila monster. I said, you got to get to hospital, mate. That thing's venomous. How would you know? It's an intrinsic Australian ability. We can just sense when something's got venom in it. No, you tool. I read books. Congratulations, you've been bitten by the world's only venomous lizard. Hey. Etc. I mean, it got bad. There was one guy who was so obsessed with Minerva Mink, the character Minerva Mink, he decides he's going to marry her. He induces some poor woman to create a Minerva Mink outfit, not to come onto her, just so she will dress in this thing, and he organises a whole wedding ceremony with him exchanging vows with someone in a Minerva Mink costume. I actually tried to screw that one up. I think I've said in one of these other ones. I wasn't at that convention. I couldn't be. I think I was actually it was simultaneous with a games convention in America, so I was over at that one. Same guy had an obsession with Winnie Woodpecker. So I found another girl who was kind of the right build. So we got her kitted out with a Winnie Woodpecker outfit. And the idea was, when it got to their priest for the Minerva Mink ceremony, doing, if anyone shall have some reason why these two shall not be wed, speak now and or forever hold your peace. The idea was the door would burst open and this Winnie Woodpecker would burst in, and she's got like a paper mache egg under one arm, and she's got one hand in there as burst the top off, and there'd be a baby bird glove puppet, but it would have the moustache and beard and scraggly hair that this other guy had. This is just a moment, dun dun dun, and then a friend could leap and say, continued another time. And that would be our way of kind of somehow stopping this terrible thing happening. Unfortunately, that bit of it got derailed, so yes, he married Minerva Mink. God help us. Stinky fanboy? I had to go to a convention, and someone's given me a packet to deliver to this guy. It's like, oh, great. It was a very nice artist, Sean Howell. Rather brilliant. Probably got some of his stuff up on my walls here behind me. Yeah, not in this immediate bit. Anyway, he had a wonderful dry rye wit. And he's sitting at his table, and I came past and sort of said, his fanboy X at the con this year, and the guy, yes, it's drifted past. I said, has he bathed this year? Sean doesn't look up, just keeps drawing and says, we're speaking of a creature never before encountered on over 300 surveyed worlds. A creature, these are your words, a creature that gestates inside a living human host and has concentrated acid for blood. I'll take that as a no. He hasn't bathed yet. Oi, oi, oi. I'm at another con, and this, friendly fanboy X comes over, and he's got a couple of portfolios under his arms. All right, fair enough. Oh, and I'm a sculptor. Oh, okay. Well, I love meeting people from different creative disciplines. What sort of makes them tick is very interesting. What are they looking for? How they operate? So, okay, all right. And he flicks open this book. Oh, he's a sculptor, all right. His obsession was creating his own girlfriends. He was making foam rubber love dolls. And yeah, several of them. And here's the thing, this guy had no artistic or sculpting talents at all, like nothing. These sculptures looked like sculptures that had been created by hitting a sculpture with another sculpture. I mean, I referred to them as the thalidomide brides. They were that, like, sorry about the political incorrectness there, but oh my god, so I'm flicking through these, and there's these photos of these things like in lingerie and whatever, and they're down there in all these porn positions. These are posed. This is this guy's front porch. They're on his porch swing. They're in his front garden. They're draped over the hood of his car. All this sort of thing. You're flicking this thing through thinking, you know, I bet I could get the house next to this guy real cheap. Yeah, so it's like, well, I'm kind of a guest at the con, so well, look, this is very interesting. I have to go. Well, I've got 10 whole folios of these here. Yeah, so they're always here if you know anyone who's interested. And my friend Bruce, Lord bless him, he comes by at this point and he's just heard the folios, interested, whatever. Oh, someone got folios of art? And I said, oh, yes, Bruce, this guy's got folios of art. He's got 2 with him and he's got apparently 10 more folios up in his room. Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, okay, so Bruce flings them into a chair and this guy then just sits and plants these things in his hands and starts going through page by page, telling him, each photograph, you know, oh, this one's a little minx, oh, she's playful, etc. And Bruce is like, you can see the cogs that make his brain work have all stripped their gears. But he's trying to rush through, flip the page, and this guy won't let him because he's each one of these. No, there's whole stories to tell. And so, yeah, I smack off and I come back half an hour later and he's still trapped there. And there was a sign. I might be giving away trade secrets here, but there was a sign amongst authors and artists and so on at Comic Cons and so on in the 80s and 90s, where if you are cornered by someone, you touch one shoulder with your opposite hand. You can just do it casually, but that is the sign to other professionals that you're in trouble. Please get me out of here. So Bruce just go, oh, hi, yeah, I'm going through this guy's artwork. So, oh, are you? Yes, he's really insistent that I see this amazing work, you know, all of it. Oh, yeah, I guess he would be because he's put so much effort into it. Get me out of here. Oh, hang on, someone's calling me. Sorry. Yeah, I go to leave. You get this look from Bruce. You bastard, you've abandoned me. No, I raced over and said, oh my God, there's a phone for you up at the front desk. Quick. Your aunt's brain operation. It might have failed. They need you on the phone immediately. It's a medical emergency. Oh, okay. Bing. Yes, I'm a cruel person, but fair. There was another fanboy, and I may have mentioned this guy before. He was a fanboy of Alvin and the Chipmunks. God help us. I mean, there has to be one somewhere, right? This guy was it. He would do his own adult comics of stuff based on Alvin and the Chipmunks. Literally, you would rather bathe your head in molten lead than see these things. It was like, no, people are flinging themselves out of 5th-story windows. But he would come with one of these things under each arm. We actually took to feigning death to make him, stop trying to show us these things. He'd come in with these folios and you would just drop to the ground. All right, yeah, I brought these folios of them. So why is everyone lying on the ground? Is this a thing? Oh, okay, well, anyway, I'm in the lobby. I've got like 4 crates of these comics, like all the different storyboards. Yeah, I'll go forward. They'll go through them with you, and yeah, so I'll be down there. Leave you, like, has he gone? Quick. There was another group of people they were doing a comic, God help us, it was published, and it slowly, like the creepy kink went in. It was like family friendly to start with, and there was just something really off about it after a few issues. And I'm looking at this trying to figure out what's going on. Another friend of mine, one of the Texas crew, he says, oh, you want to know what's wrong with it? No. Reread it again, but emphasize the word feet whenever you see it. And yeah, now this thing suddenly becomes unveiled as basically a foot fetishist comic. As you went through, it's like, hey there, you look like you've had a hard day on your feet. Yes, gosh, Yes, it's been a long time on my feet. Or maybe you should put up your feet. Gosh, yeah. Yeah, I just really need to sit here for a while and flex my feet. Or maybe I could rub your feet. It's like, dear God, stop it. These same people, they decided, look, Babylon 5 was really popular at the time. Wait, Deep Space Nine. So to be infinitely popular and make infinite money, we need to do a comic that's about a giant space station that sits in the middle of nowhere and goes nowhere. Because it's popular right now, right? And then we'll be immortal gods and like make millions. Yeah, whatever, pal. But they couldn't keep the kink out of it, so they decided we'll make this. Yeah, it'll be like a soap opera, but it'll be like a sex soap opera. Oh God help us. So they said we'll have lots of different aliens, and they're all having sex. Oh my God. And whatever your personal hell was, you would find in this comic, I swear. Because people, we're all creators, so you look through. If someone's got like the pencil roughs for something, you'd look through it because you're there to kind of offer suggestions or just make ooh-ah noises or whatever. But people would find this on these guys, their desk, their table in the trade show, and you'd see someone flicking through like, oh, okay. Well, this is a bit kind of lame and a bit icky, and suddenly someone will they'd inevitably and they'd like slam this thing, push it away. They found the page that triggered off every hellish memory of whatever hideous things they've suffered just go pouring through their brain. The one that I know made me throw the thing across the room was one of the storylines was some ship crashes on an alien planet. Yeah, only man and a woman left. So, they get pregnant and have a child. So the big thing on their mind is, oh no, they won't live forever and, well, their child won't grow up with anyone to have sex with. Yeah, that's got to be the main thing on your mind. So they decide that they'll go through all the wreckage and they'll build a robot for this kid that he can have sex with. So the robot that these guys have drawn is a carbon copy of K9 from Doctor Who. Hand to God. Except on the back of it is essentially Dr. Johnson's functioning female genitalia, and on the front of it is a pair of plastic tits. The most hellish thing I've ever seen. Like, they're not joking. To them, this is serious, and this is touching. See how much the parents cared? It's like, jeez, and this kid's having sex with this in this damn story. It's just no. We actually took to doing kind of a bit of a dark underground party thing, because what these guys had done to try and take the curse of it, they'd sort of troweled a layer of incredibly Ormolu saccharine dialogue over the top of this, and it was like kind of high fantasy heroic dialogue, and it just made it worse. But what you would do is you get these pencil roughs, because they turned out hundreds of copies of these to hand out to everyone. It's like pre-publicity for this thing. You go into a party with full of professional artists and writers and so on, and what you do is if you have to sit down, it's a contest, and you each read one part from you riffle it through, and you find random pages, and you each read the part of one of the characters. You have to keep a straight face, you can't crack a smile, you can't laugh, you can't go ooh, none of that. You have to read it in all due seriousness, and you just couldn't, there'd be some terrible sex scene, and the dialogue was, oh, mighty star wizard, your staff of life feels so powerful within me. It's like, no. Oh my God, terrible stuff. There was another artist who he just couldn't stop putting the sex in his work, and he couldn't see why this was wrong. I like doing this stuff, but he's trying to he wants to be a professional, he wants to work for Disney and so on. So he got a couple of jobs, and these are fairly famous, mind you. He got asked to do promo posters for some Disney TV shows, and of course he decides he's going to work dicks into all of the artwork, because that's great. That's not a great way of establishing your professional credentials. But he decides now he's got an in. So he makes a portfolio of his artwork, and he starts making kind of multiple copies of this, and he visits Disney, he visits Warner's, he visits Hanna-Barbera, he visits every single animation studio in in the continental US, and he leaves them all with copies of this. And then, so I turned up, and I'm there actually like doing some stuff with some Disney guys or whatever, and these guys are just absolutely collapsed with laughter. You have to see this. Someone has left us with a portfolio. This is his professional portfolio. This is what he wants Disney to hire him on. You have to see this. And I walk in, and it's like, sure enough, you know, I can recognize this guy's artwork from a million miles away. And oh my God, yeah, there it is. And page one to sell your stuff to Disney is an anthropomorphic horse character who's been strapped down into some weird bondage gurney while nurses in rubber bondage outfits are giving him injections into his testicles. And that was the mildest page. There it got worse, but this thing's legend. It's actually, for a while there, they actually had it at CalArts as a demonstration to people on how not to do a portfolio and try and push your work. So, like happy-go-lucky fanboy moments, but just not a clue. Just not a damn clue. So, look, I mean, there were some golden people in the old fandom. I really, really miss that fellowship, that amazing creativity of being there, which is all these people that made stuff, the hysterias, the practical jokes. I mean, good moments. There were really good moments. My friend Ted Shepard was a genius of an artist, a wonderful guy, but he would just do things at cons. But one of them was the traditional 2 a.m. party poster vandalization at Trip. People would put posters up on the walls advertising various room parties that were going to be on, and because this is an art heavy con, they've always got, they've drawn pictures and so on them. great photos. But Shet would vandalize them, so you'd get sort of some sort of dancing otter or something, come to this party in this room or something like that. And he would just, oh wait, bit of white out and so on. Now this otter's got bags under its eyes. It just looks like the party's gone on too long. It's tired. It just can't live this life anymore. It's like, yes, the party in room 421 still goes on. Rehab sessions here and here. Someone did this wonderful poster, and it was a girl seen from behind in this kind of wee jazz hands kind of dancey pose, and because it needed a bit of a background, he put, what would you call it, a rhombus, like a parallelogram, an oblong with a shorter lower side, sort of on the other side of it, just to give it a bit of a frame. Shep runs out masses of these. Like, he just gets the hotel photocopier and he just runs out 100 of them. And there's a 2 a.m. party where people are sitting there modifying this. The first one is so someone's taken that rhombus and they've turned it into the grill of a truck. So they've put headlights on it, logo, beep beep, and they've just coloured in so it's like this girl's it's been caught in the light of the truck. Shep's there working diligently away. He's turned that shape into the sides of skyscrapers seen looking down. He's got windows and balconies. You can see little people in them living their lives. Some of them looking at, and this woman seen from behind, she's plummeting towards the crowd, passing windows of people looking at the windows. As everyone's having a good laugh over this, the artist comes by, looks at all this sadly. Everyone having a good time? Yes. Yes, I'm afraid everyone's having a very good time. Oh, hell. There was another fan, ultra fanboy, never meant well, innocent soul, a nitwit. I may have mentioned this in another one of these, but there was a nude cabaret at one of these cons. Now, bless them, but there weren't a lot of people at that con that you honestly wanted to see naked. But this fanboy's never seen a naked girl before, so he's like, there's a girl there who's going to turn up dancing as Omaha the Cat Dancer, which was a comic book about a nude dancer. They put a pole in there. Now, these girls weren't actual real pole dancers. I'm a real pole dancer. That's athletic. But, you can do the stripper kind of, spin and grind. That's easy. But this girl's decided she's going to do Omaha the Cat Dancer, so she's going to be nude. So she's made like prosthetics. She's got little kind of catty snout and a pair of ears. But she wants a tail. Oh, but that tail's got to have motion. It can't just be like a cloth tail like hanging there or anything. It's got to have some bounce and some verve and whatever. She gets a coil spring, kind of like the ones you put to close a wire door. So she gets about a 2.5, maybe 3 foot long steel coil spring and just puts it in like a furry bag. So this thing must weigh like 2 or 4 kilos of steel. And she's just attached this thing above the root of her ass with spirit gum, the stuff that you would use to kind of like, you know, sticky Mr. Spock ears on, or, you know, sticky little button nose on if you're going to be a clown. So she's got this thing. So Fanboy X is right there, front and center in the audience. So this girl gets on the pole and she does a like wee, she just swings around a pole, and as she's going like at about Mach 2 around the pole, this tail is just standing out stiff from the centrifugal force, and of course it just, the spirit gum just lets go, and this thing flies like a javelin, and it just cracks this guy right between the eyes. I am out in the lobby, and suddenly we see like a stretcher team from an ambulance turn up. Oh, what the? Is they heading for the cabaret? Did one of them have an aneurysm when he finally saw someone naked? And no, Fanboy X has brought out, you know, blood everywhere. And we run over to him, it's like, son, are you okay? He managed to get his head up. Yeah, just, I saw her butt. Boom. Jesus Christ Almighty. After the nude cabaret, there was, that would kind of extend into a dance. There was a female editor from one group, and she wanted to go to the dance, and you know, it's a bit of a dodgy dance because of like the nude stuff going on. But one of my friends, possibly a viewer out there, hi Scott. Scott's kind of like a big kind of square-shouldered guy, and he's going to go down there and look after it to make sure no one like gets her in trouble, which is great, fantastic. Thank you, Scott. But she goes down there, and the rest of us don't go down there. Says, "Oh, I'm going to go down there." All right, so down she goes with Scott looking after her. She comes back about 20 minutes later, just looking kind of bewildered. So what happened? One of the con conveners was up on stage dancing, and just a hula kind of dance, and he was wearing nothing but a polystyrene cup held on with a piece of string. And Scott comes into the room at this point, just frozen face to it, not looking left and right, and just sits down on a chair, not looking at anyone. Ellen, yeah, the string broke. So, God damn it, no. So we told you not to do that. The costumes, by the way, furry costumes started off really as one of the different means of artistic expression, and there was a couple of incredibly clever costume makers from the Costumers Guild who did them. Now, I've always been a costumer, and at like science fiction cons, the costuming thing, and the original San Diego Comic Cons, costuming was a big thing. People trying to make screen accurate costumes, or just kind of spectacular stuff. There'd be a masquerade where there'd be a stage where people would kind of get up and show this stuff off. Brilliant. So some of these guys really wanted to try and make cartoon characters come to life. So the first fur suits were brilliant. They were trying to bring to life Disney and Warner's characters. One of the guys from Disney actually was really good at making Warner characters. He could do like Magnificent, Wile E. Coyotes, and you know, all this sort of stuff. They were great. But I remember he had a friend. So this is a Disney director from Disney TV. He had a friend over at Warner's who's working on stuff. So this guy decides he's going to take this guy a birthday cake on his birthday. So he dresses up as a Warner's character, screen accurate. In this case, it was Pepe Le Pew. You know, back before we put two together and decide, you know, something's a bit off on Pepe. But anyway, he's dressed as Pepe, and screen accurate, immaculate, with a birthday cake. And he expected he'd just get to like the front gate at Warner's and sort of explain this is just a gag for, you know, one of your directors. And they'd bring the guy up to the gate and he'd give him his birthday cake. But no, the guard just opens the barrier and just lets him in. No ID, doesn't check anything. It's like, oh, come on in. Says, hi, Peppy. And says, yeah. And this guy said he then wanders through Warner's. Says, he got onto closed sets looking for this guy. Everyone just waves him through because no one would be dressed as a screen-accurate cartoon character carrying a birthday cake unless they had the best of all possible reasons for doing so. So, any spy movie that you've ever seen, any bizarre conundrum someone had to get up to somehow get into the secret base, to somehow worm their way past the guards, any role-playing game you played where you had to come up with an elaborate way of getting into the Imperial headquarters, forget it, just dress up as a cartoon character and carry a birthday cake. Everyone presumes you're there to do something cool. So, yes, one of the great principles of stealth, my friends, and brought to you by Furry Fandom. Oh, my God. Of course, the costuming kind of ended up getting weird, and that's kind of what screwed the fandom, I think, in that the people that were the appreciators of the genre began to massively outweigh the number of people who kind of made stuff or did things that contributed towards the genre. Okay, that's kind of inevitable as a fandom expands. But then another generation came in who were no longer interested in the genre at all. Just weren't. Not that interested in shows with animal characters in them or books or comics or any of it. They just had kind of made a society of people that were attached to the fandom, and they kind of essentially took it over. They became the ones running the cons. They became the ones attending the cons more and more and more and more. And so it morphed from something that was about a genre into what has become essentially a specialized costuming fandom, really. It's like the way Klingon fandom kind of split off from Star Trek fandom. Very similar. So Klingon fandom, you know, you have to have elaborate costumes that are made to a particular standard in a particular way. Otherwise, you're not in the club. And that's kind of what furry fandom sort of mutated into. So, you know, I ended up wandering away from it. It wasn't doing it for me anymore. I would describe myself these days as a funny animal fan. I mean, as you might see, the walls behind me are laden with classic furry art from the ages. I've probably got the biggest collection on the planet. I'm not joking. Thousands, because these people are all my friends. I miss the old fandom. I miss the excitement of that incredible creativity of being hotboxed with a bunch of artists and writers and, you know, games creators and games players and, you know, very funny fans and fans that were brilliant at organizing parties and, you know, stage comedians. And, you know, it was just hysterical. You'd come out of it, your side splitting with laughter and so many ideas for things. I would love that back again. It's not going to happen. I haven't seen any fandoms that kind of seem to do that no more. But it was grand when it was happening. It was hilarious, but yes, even then, we still have hell tales to tell. Anyway, cheers.